A warm welcome back to our Steam Machines. This is Jack from Conductive Music with a session exploring maths, coding and music entitled Guitar Graph Generator. This is Steam Corner, and at the end of today's session you will have coded a virtual electric guitar which will respond to Scratch's movement on screen. The coding we'll be using today is available clicking on the link below, so do that on your tablet or computer to get yourself started. As ever, thanks to Arts Council England and our partners for making these sessions possible. When we greet Scratch, our main sprite in this program, our first task is to make Scratch move around the screen using the X and the Y coordinates. As I just said, our first task is to use our X and Y coordinates to move Scratch around the screen. So let me just go over what I mean by that. Let me just zoom in to our Scratch screen just a little bit more. So for our X coordinate, can you see we have some values here where my cursor is? It says X is minus 240. And then if we go all the way across to the other side of the screen, we're still on our X line. It says X is 240, but obviously no minus there. So what this is a range. So we can have from between minus 240 for X, all the way to 0, and then from 0 up to plus 240. We don't need to say plus, that is anything without a minus number, we just say that there. And now let's look to the top of the screen, and we have our Y coordinate, and this is the one that goes down the screen from top to bottom, and our top value there is 180, and let's look to the bottom of the screen, we have minus 180. So at the moment, Scratch, as you can see, is here in the middle, and this is a really important thing to remember in Scratch. If we want to know the position, because obviously the computer doesn't understand necessarily where we want to put any of the sprites, we need to tell the computer. And if you go down here, can you see we've got our X and our Y values here? That means that we can tell the computer to take our sprite to a certain place. So for example, if I wanted to start Scratch off at the top here, if I move Scratch, can you see our coordinates changed? Now the X value has gone minus, because don't forget this is coordinating with this one, and our Y value has gone up to 127 because it's coordinating with this one here if I was to go across. And if I take Scratch back to the center, or as near to it as I can, I think I can't get it bang on, but there we go. If I went to 0, 0, like I can just put those values in just to show you. So 0 and 0, it takes Scratch right back to the center there. So let's use these sprites here as a cursor to move Scratch up and down. Let me just go and focus on one of these. Let's go for our right arrow first, which is arrow 1. I've already put this code on there for you, and it just says this: when this sprite is clicked, broadcast right. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go back to our Scratch Cat, and we are going to go over to here to events. And can you see towards, let me just scroll up a second, can you see towards the bottom of this, when I receive, and this says concert at the moment, but actually what we want to receive is that instruction for write. So let's change that to write. And now what we're going to ask the computer to do is every time it receives that instruction, we're going to change our X value. And you're going to do that on this motion up here. So we're going to click on that. And we're looking for this instruction here. Can you see it says change X by 10? Let's clip that into our when I receive write block, and then see if Scratch moves across. So let's duplicate this by right clicking or holding Option or Alt on your computer, or on the tablet holding down and then having that menu pop up. We're going to duplicate it, and this time we're going to go for a different message. We're going to go left. And here's the thing to remember: if this value here is change X by 10 when I click on the left, Scratch is just going to keep on going that way because that is the bigger X number. So let's just see that first. So I'm clicking left, but he's moving right. So what we actually want to do here is in this left section, we want to put a minus value so that it gets rid of some of the value of X. And let's see that now. We should see Scratch moving over to the left. Okay, so they were going from a really, really low X value. And then as we increase X, Scratch moves all the way across the screen. Next, let's code for up and down. And if you can remember what we were talking about at the start of the session, our up and down value is here as Y. So when I'm looking for this one here, I'm going to duplicate this, and then I'm going to change this up here to up. And now I'm going to get rid of this bottom part because X is across and Y is up and down. So can you say here, change Y by 10. Okay, so let's give this a go now, clicking on that up arrow. Perfect. Now let's just quickly go back to Scratch. And can you guess what the last bit of this is? We're going to go for our down now, but similar to our X, we don't want plus 10. We're going to have minus 10. So let's give that a go now and see if we can get, there we are. And so we have a fully working cursor. In a second, we're going to program Scratch to play an electric guitar note over and over. We're then going to use a variable so that the higher Scratch goes on the screen, the quicker Scratch will play the electric guitar. If you're not sure what a variable is, think of a variable as a box which you can put things in or take things out. And those things in computing are usually numbers. So, for example, in a computer game, a score or number of lives or power may be a variable because they could change throughout the course of the game. So our next step requires us to make a new variable. So we go over here to our orange menu. Can you see? Give it a click, and then we are up here to make a variable. And the variable's name is going to be called rhythm, which is quite a weird word to spell. Hasn't got any vowels in it. RHYTHM, and click OK. So we're going to use our variable called rhythm to affect how quickly or slowly Scratch plays the guitar. But first we need to pick the note. So let's go up here to our sounds tab, give it a click, and it should be the second one down, C, electric guitar. That's the one. Okay, so let's go back to our code now. And let's work a way of having Scratch play this note forever. So we're going to go over to our green flag is clicked, drag that on, and now we're going to use one of these forever blocks so that Scratch is always going to be playing this note. And then let's go up to our sound menu, and we want to start sound, not drum jam. We want to start the sound C, electric guitar. So if I just run this code, it's going to sound a bit bad because it's going to simply glitch and play this sound forever. So have a listen. Can you hear that? It's not very pleasant. So it's just starting, it's continually starting that sample and then restarting it, which is why you get that sound like that. So we need to put a pause in, and that's where our variable comes in. So let's go up to control, and we're going to wait, not 1 second, but we're going to wait however many value our variable has. So let's go over to variables and rhythm there. Can you see? I'm going to click on it and I'm going to drag it into our block there. So we're going to wait rhythm seconds. Now we need to set what our rhythm is at the start. So I tell you what, let's set it to 1, which is over here on our menu. So when the green flag is clicked, we're going to set our rhythm to value of 1. Okay. So now when I click it, it should be waiting 1 second and then repeating the sample. So let's have a listen. Okay, so can you see, because our rhythm, because our variable here is 1, that is the value here that we're operating. So we need next to find a way of changing our value, and that we said was going to be on our y-axis when we move Scratch up and down. So the value I've started here is 1 on our rhythm variable. Now if I move up, I want the rhythm to be faster. So what I'm going to have to do is I'm actually going to have to take some of this value off, because obviously the less time that we wait between that sound playing again, the faster it's going to be. It seems strange, doesn't it, that I've got to take the value off it for it to become faster, but you'll see what I mean. So let me do that one first. So when I receive up, we're going to change Y by 10, and we're going to change rhythm. We just select that by minus 0.05. Let's just hear what that does now. So as I move up, so rhythm's going down more. Until we get to that sound we nearly had before. And then I just stop that a second because I haven't done the alternative. And then when I receive down, we're going to change rhythm by plus 0.05. So let's just pull that one on there. Change rhythm by 0.05. And now when we start, if I move scratch down, we should get slower. You see? Okay, so let's have a look through that code we just made, because I think we could do with going over it once more. So when our green flag is clicked, we set our variable to 1, which is just up here. Can you see in that number? And then we ask it to wait every time it plays a note that number of seconds before it plays it again. So if we go up the page, we want our value here to become smaller, so that it's a smaller amount of time between every time it repeats the note. And then if we go down the page, we actually increase this variable so that the amount of time between notes gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And if I could just show you this, if I make this number say even bigger, so let's say 1.5 rather than 0.05, and see what happens. Now, can you see there's 4 seconds before each repetition? So these notes are going to be really, really far apart. 7, 8.5 seconds, 10 seconds, which means it's going to be really difficult for us to hear it. Okay, let me just go and reinstate that. So change this back to 0.05. There you go. In music, we describe pitch as a range between low-pitch things, like a double bass or a bass drum, to high-pitch things, like a whistle or a recorder. Next, let's code so that as scratch moves left or right on the x-axis, the pitch of the note scratch plays also changes. So we changed our rhythm, we changed the number of times that note's going to repeat, and now I want us to change another thing within the program called pitch. So we're going to go up to here to our sound menu, and can you see it has a block on here that says change pitch effect. So every time we move to the right, so every time we increase x by 10, we're going to also ask to change the pitch effect by 10. And funnily enough, we'll do exactly the opposite when we go to the left. So when x changes by minus 10, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to ask the computer to change the pitch effect by minus 10. Let's just give the green flag a click and see what that does to the program. So now as I'm moving to the right, getting pretty high there. And then if I go back the other way, so we've managed to change our pitch by where Scratch's position is on the XY grid. So to make it seem like Scratch is playing the guitar, let's bring up our sprite of the guitar, and you can do that by clicking here in the very bottom right hand side of your XY grid. So I'm just going to give the green flag a click and click it. There we are, and now we can use our cursors to move Scratch up or down. Imagining Scratch is going down the frets and then back up. Finally, let's give Scratch a backing to play along with. click on the electric guitar in the bottom left hand side of the screen to start the concert. So we need to give Scratch a backing track to play along to, and if you give the green play click and then click on this red electric guitar here, what I'd like you to do is move Scratch around the screen to see if you can find some places that suit the music. I'll just have a quick go and I'll let you have a go by yourself. So green flag clicked. There we go. Okay, so I think the last part of this should be you investigating some of the coordinates using, don't forget, this X and Y coordinate, where Scratch really sounds good with his backing track there. So try that and make a note of some of these coordinates and then compare them with your other groups to see if you agree with their positions. And then what you could do, if you fancied it, you could chart a little course for Scratch to play by going into the motion menu, and then you could use this go to, use your position and then a wait block for however many times you wanted, and then Scratch would actually move around the screen playing at those coordinates. So if you fancy doing that for the last part of the lesson, off you go. Otherwise, have fun playing around with the XY grid and the guitar as well. We've come to the end of the session today. Thank you so much for joining me. I really hope you've had fun exploring some of the graphs possible within Scratch and programming guitar as well. I just need to pull your attention to our Facebook, YouTube and Twitch accounts. If you see Conductive Music on there, please click on the subscribe button. Also, if you head over to conductivemusic.uk, we have over 60 one-hour projects for you to get your teeth stuck into. If you use the subscription link below, that would be fantastic. As ever, thank you to Arts Council England and our partners for their continuing support. Bye bye.